Please welcome our superhero sponsor Docentric and their super partner channel manager Clement Novak. Today, he will be saving the day by presenting his session, Sign Your Invoices Digitally in Dynamics 365 with Docentric. Stick around after for a live Q&A with an F&O hero.
Hi everyone and welcome to our Dynamics Con session. Today I will show you how you can sign your invoices or any other business documents digitally in Dynamics 365 Finance and Operation with Docentric. By signing your documents with digital certificates, you will prevent tampering and comply with regulations. It doesn't matter if you created your documents with Docentric or not, you can sign any SSRS or electronic reporting document too. My name is Clement Novak and my main role is Partner Channel Manager at Docentric. I'm still quite involved in our solution architecture and development. I have more than 15 years of experience on the field of software development, IT infrastructure, and for the last few exciting years, also on sales. But before I continue, there is something important I want to announce. After the conference, we are giving away 4 gifts. One Nintendo Switch, one Nintendo Switch Lite, and 2 Docentric Full Edition subscriptions for 6 months. If you wish to be one of the lucky winners, you need to do the following. Watch and listen carefully as the answers to the questions will be revealed during this session. We have already posted a link to our giveaways entry page in the sessions chat window. The link is also available during the whole conference at our virtual booth. So you are invited to network with us and we can show you the solution at hand in live. Follow that link where you will be able to leave your contact information and answer a short quiz. Don't be afraid. There will be 4 simple questions, and if you're careful, follow our session, they will be a no-brainer to you. After the conference, we will schedule an online event and draw the lucky winners. Let's now fly out to our agenda and check what I have prepared for you today. First, I will shortly introduce Docentric and what is our game. Then we will talk more about the basics of electronic signature and why it should be used with your business documents. I hope that you are eager to see the demo. My main goal is to show you how to send a legally compliant signed invoice to your customers. So first, I will show you how simple it is to create a fully functional sales invoice from scratch with the Docentric Designer in a matter of minutes and not hours. And then we will set up and apply the electronic signature to our newly created sales invoice. Up next is the sending of the signed invoice to your customers. As it is common, we will make a review of the presented material and will announce the next steps for those among you who would like to learn more about Docentric or even like to give it a test run. I invite you to send me questions or opinions in your session chat window so that we can discuss them during our Q&A session at the end. So here at Docentric, we are specialized in reporting and document automation. So our mission is to create better reports and offer a complete Dynamics 365 for finance and operation reporting solution, which uses familiar Microsoft Word as the report designer. When it comes to creating, printing, emailing, distributing, and archiving business documents, thousands of end users, consultants, and developers worldwide have come to rely upon Docentric. Our company was founded over a decade ago, and back then we started with the Docentric Toolkit, which is an SDK for document automation and reporting for .NET applications. And in AX 2012, we found out that our solution might be a good fit to be more efficient and spend uh, instead of days, only hours when it comes to report designs. We also found out that we can solve the limited document distribution features in the standard solution. So that is why we have created our flagship product now called Docentric AX. And we offer a free and a full edition. So check out our webpage and see what is there for free and give it a try. But today we will focus on Docentric AX and I will show you its capabilities. By now, we are trusted by more than 400 customers, and for more than 50 partners, our solution is the first choice when it comes to reporting and distribution of documents in D365. The centric word is spreading around the world quickly, and we are proud to have more than 2,000 installations and on average more than 4 downloads of our product per day. Okay, so now let's move on and talk more about the electronic signature basics. When it comes to applying electronic signatures and what you need to know, there's quite a lot of confusion and information overflow. So, what is electronic signature? What is digital signature? Electronic seal, digital certificate, private and public key, certificate authority, long-term validation of signatures, and what else? Even if you're a superhero, it's hard to understand all the information you have read about electronic signatures at the end of the day and why and how they are used. So let's start understanding them one by one and see what's the difference. Electronic signature is an annotation that appears in the document but has no additional identifiable information about the creator other than an author field which can be altered later on. While the digital signature, on the other hand, uses a cryptographic algorithm to uniquely identify the author and any alterations to the document, including annotations. So, in other terms, you can always check who is the author, do you trust him, and if someone else has tampered with the document. And our solution applies to your business documents a digital signature with or without annotations. And annotations can have a signature appearance box containing signer's name, signing reason, signing location, contact information, signature date, and handwritten image. So what's the difference between digital signature and electronic seal? Technically, they are both digital signatures, and we commonly relate to digital signature or e-seal with the term electronic signature. But the important difference between a digital signature and an electronic seal is that the latter is usually created by a legal person. So for example, a responsible person in an organization or an organization by itself, while the digital signatures are created by a natural person. And for creation of digital signatures, an action of the person signing a document or data is required. So for example, a PIN or password must be entered to access the private key at signing time. But we at Docentric are using electronic seal as they can be incorporated in the processes without any user interaction and are completely automized. Now let's move on to how does a digital signature work. So let's put it in plain and simple terms. But first, let's start with digital certificates, and then I will explain the signing and the verification part. Digital certificates are electronic credentials that bind the identity of the certificate's owner to a part of electronic encryption keys. And in this case, one public and one private key that can be used to encrypt and sign information digitally. The main purpose is to ensure that the public key contained in the certificate belongs to the entity to which the certificate was issued. And in other words, to verify that the person sending a message or a document is actually who he or she claims to be. So when we start with signing, we first calculate a unique value by using hash algorithm. Then the certificate's private key is used to encrypt the signer's hash, and the result we get is the digest, or as we call it, digital signature. The signature is then attached along with the public part of the certificate to the data. While during verification, the document data and public key is used to generate the exact same unique value. If these unique values match, then we can say that the data has not been altered and digital signature is valid. And because the public part of the certificate is present in the signature, we can also identify who was the creator of the document and decide if we trust the person who signed the document. There's quite a lot of things to explain when it comes to what long-term validation of digital signature is. So I'll try to be quick. When you sign your business documents with digital certificates and are obligated to store them long-term, you should consider what will happen with your signature after 5, 10, 25, or even more years. Digital certificate is your digital ID and can be considered as the electronic equivalent of physical personal ID or passport document. In physical world, ID documents have validity applied because of the following reasons. You can be identified from your personal information and the photo of you on your ID, but photo changes over time as you age, and your ID therefore expires over time. You can also lose your ID, or even worse, it can be stolen. And organization, and because of that, there is a trusted third-party organization. And in this case, the government tracks records which IDs are still valid or not. So at any time a person needs to be identified, we can determine that it's the right one. And the same logic can be applied to digital certificates. But here I must mention a few additional reasons. So, what if the responsible person in the organization or the organization itself has changed? And the organization over time can also go out of business. Then the digital certificate can also expire because the encryption algorithms used for signing becomes obsolete or can be broken as computing power over time becomes stronger. And in this case, I'm relating to your private and public key. And what if you lose your certificate or it has been stolen? So again, we need a trusted third-party organization, and in this case, a certificate authority, which needs to track records of revoked certificates as long as you need to legally store your business documents. And even though the certificate authority is almighty, their certificates can expire. Or even worse, its certificates can also be stolen. So to overcome all the mentioned challenges, long-term validation of signatures were introduced, and it provides a record in which state the certificate was at the time of signing. So for example, if it was valid or revoked. And in order to overcome those challenges and that certificate validation is undisputable, the date and time when the document was signed needs to be known. But there are still some other information the signature must include, such as the signer's digital certificate, whole certificate chain, including all the issuer certificates, the information about the certificate revocation at the time of signing, and the state of certificate revocation at the time of signing. And Docentric supports also long-term validation of signatures. So there's quite a lot of other things to explain, but don't worry. My colleague Micha is also speaking on DynamicsCon, and he will explain in more details about the certificates, Azure Key Vault as a secure storage for your digital IDs, and how to use them in D365. So for those of you who are eager to know more, I invite you to his session on Thursday at 1 p.m. I hope you still remember our giveaways. Now it's the time to listen carefully And watch out for the bulb signs in the following slides. The, they represent the correct answers to the questions for the giveaways. Let's now put everything together and see how our solution applies the electronic signature to your business documents. First, we start with Docentric Designer, where we create the report design. And Docentric Designer is, by the way, an add-on for Microsoft Word. And when we create a design, we apply and store them either in SharePoint, where we can use the versioning functionality, Azure Blob Storage, or internally in D365 if we use it on premise. Although we are all superheroes when it comes to mastering Microsoft Word, and I'm also one of them, we are not all developers. With the Docentric Designer, we empower key users, functional consultants, and everybody else in your organization to design or be part of designing report designs. And you can trust me by saying that this will really speed up the process. As we have created those nice looking designs, let's see now how we can use them in D365. We start with a report and we will use everything that is already there in the standard D365, such as report setups, dialogues, buttons, and security, which actually means that you can expect a natural standard user experience when using Docentric. Then we fetch the data either from the SSRS or electronic reporting data source. And by electronic reporting, I mean the model and the model mapping. And pass the data along with the Docentric design to the document generator to create the final document, and in our case, a PDF document. When the PDF is generated, we can sign it. And it doesn't matter if it's being generated from SSRS, Docentric, or electronic reporting design. Digital certificates used for signing can be stored internally in D365 database or even more securely in Azure Key Vault. And for other PDF documents, such as attachments or generated PDFs via customization, you can use our signing API. After the signature process has finished, you can then send your documents through our improved output management to the desired print destination, such as Print Archive, email, screen, printer, or to any other application. And if you will be playing around with the free edition, the PDF signing feature is part of the full edition. So now let's fly out to the live demo where I will show you everything you have learned so far in action. So I have already prepared a sales invoice blueprint, and if I open it, we can see that it's a static document. And let's say that this document was shared around with all my teammates and everybody added something to the document. And let's say that this is also now our specification. And we agreed that this is now a final document. And let's now start converting it to the Docentric design. So when you install the Docentric Designer, you will receive an additional ribbon in Microsoft Word. And notice that now everything is disabled, and this is because this is still a plain Word document. And as soon as I click here on Use as a Template and provide it with a data source file, and this data source file we call DDSP file, which stands for Docentric Data Source Package. And it's actually an XML file which contains a data structure, sample data, and also all the translations for the sales invoice. And the file can be generated from any context record inside D365 FO. So as soon as I selected that file, we can see that now we have enabled quite a few panels. So one is the data source where I see the data structure, and Docentric also offers you to reshape the data. So as you can see, that's not the same structure as we would get from the SSRS data source. Then we also have the element tree, but I will explain later on what will you see here. So now let's start converting that document. So how do we do that? First, we will convert the header of the document, and we just simply select the static text, go to the Docentric ribbon, and use the Docentric tagging elements. And if I use now the field tagging element, a binding window appears. And what I need to do here is to map the field, the tagging element that I added on the document, to the data source by specifying the data, the binding path. So in the general data, we also extended, in the section general data, we also extended the data source with a few additional useful things like legal entity information, current worker information, and so on. And this is why I can easily use this information to bind them to any of my reports. So let me quickly just add a few fields. So now I will add the phone number, and let's say the email. And that's it. So the next thing I will do, I will bring our legal entity logo. So I don't need a static one. I will delete this one and add our image tagging element to the document. And again, go to the general data, to the current company, and select the logo from the data source. So this is the logo from the configuration of the legal entity. And that's it. So we have converted the header of the document. Now let's start converting the header of the sales invoice. So first we will change the buyer name. So this is under the sales invoice header, and we here have a buyer name. And we will do the same for the address. And let's do the same for the invoice ID. And again, we have it in the header. Okay. And let's save the result and see what we have done. So if I click on the preview button, I will get a PDF document exactly the same as it would be generated inside the 365 when I execute this report design. So we can see that now we have a logo of our company, we have the legal entities information, we also have the buyer's name and address, and also the invoice number. Okay, so now let's move to our table. But before I start converting that table, I would like to show you also a cool feature called Live Preview. So if I enable this panel, it will give me instant result of the final document as I will change something here on the design. And if I now start converting that table, so the sales invoice lines, and remove the last two rows, because I just need one. And now I just need to select the whole row and surround it with the list tagging element. So the list tagging element is some kind of a repeater, and I need to bind it to the sales invoice lines where I have all the information about the product specification. So if I now select and bind this list, we can now see that we already have quite a lot of table row items here on the resulting report. And you can also see that everything is happening instantly. So that means that our report designer, our report engine is actually really fast. So now let's quickly just convert all the other statics data inside that row. So for, in this case, the product name. And as you can see, we're now already in the data context. So in the data context of the sales invoice line. And I just select the name, the item ID, the quantity, the sales price, and the last but not least, the line amount. Okay, let's now save this. And as we can see now in the live preview, all the data has appeared in the table, but the amounts are still not formatted correctly. So how do we apply that? Now we will use the element tree. So in the element tree, we actually see all the tagging elements which we added on the report design. And for this case, it's now more easy to select all the fields that I need to provide with the formatting strings. So here I will use 2 decimal places for all the amounts and numbers. And there you have it. We have now formatted all the numbers. Okay, let's do another thing. So, for example, if you want to translate the static text on the document, you can also do that. So it's really simple. Just select the static text that you want to translate and use our label tagging element. And the labels can be provided either from the data source translations or from label codes, or you can also use our user-defined labels functionality. But for this example, I will use the translations from the data source. And as you can see now, the text was changed, and now I can check how the document will look like with in different languages. So if I now change here the preview language to Spanish, I will get instantly factura. If I change to German, we will see the Rechnung. And if we look also at the amounts, we will see that all the amounts are already formatted in the locale of that language. So actually this preview language simulates the runtime language of the report. So let's move now back to the English. Then when you, let's say that we have now finished with the report design, but you still need to test quite a lot of things. So for example, if this cell would be big enough to contain the biggest number you are expecting. And for that to enable to do that, we can also help you here, because if you remember at the beginning, I selected the data source, and the data source was a file. And because it contains sample data, we can also play around with that sample data. So if I click on this button, I get that sample data. And now I can change, let's say, the line amount and provide it with a bigger number. And I can instantly check if the number will be wrapped and if the cell is big enough. And I can do the same, for example, if I want to check how a big table will look like and how it will be spread across all the pages. And if I do that and quickly look here, we can see that we have quite a lot of mid-range speakers, and we can check that on the next page we also have table header and so on, and that's it. Okay, so let's save this report now and apply it to D365 FO. So I will close now this report and go to my D365 FO environment. When you install Docentric inside D365 as a component, you can access it via Workspaces, either via Workspaces, so we have it down here as Docentric AX Workspace, or through modules, through organization administration, and we have here the menu to the Docentric AX Workspace. And if I go now to the workspace, the most important thing here is the report setups. So here we will register a new report to the Docentric pipeline. And we can do that by simply clicking on New button here, selecting from any of the SSRS report name. And by any, I mean that we support all non-print management and print management reports, and also custom ones. So you simply just select the report name and the report design name and add the entry to the list. But I won't do that because I have already created the sales invoice, and I will just look for it and go in the report setup of the sales invoice. And the most important thing here are the templates. So I need to register a new template in order to see the design that we have just created together. And I already have a few of them here. So Docentric allows you to have multiple template designs because you can create quite a lot of scenarios how to select the correct template. And we will add a new one and we'll call it Sales Invoice Dynamics on report. And this report template will be actually company and language neutral. So it means that it can be used for all the legal entities and for all the languages. And then we need to attach the file to the system where we first select where we would like to store that template design. So we have the following options, either in Azure Blob Storage, SharePoint, where we can leverage the versioning functionality, or on-premise also file system. But for the demo, I will use Azure Blob Storage. So I will upload a new file and the one that we have just created. And that's it. So if we are lucky now, so if I mark it as a default, that means that it will be defaultly shown on the when I put the document on the screen. We should see now our newly designed invoice. So let me just duplicate the screen, go to now to all the service orders, and so let's say that we'll select the Maple company, go to the invoice journal, and let's put the document on the screen. Great, we have our new design in the system. And we can see that it has everything we have created. So we have converted those sales invoice lines, we have converted this sales invoice header and also the document header. But at the end, we also added terms and conditions and also a signature line. So if we would now print out the document on paper, we would stamp it on and sign it. But because we want to do our business electronically and send those invoices out to our customers, that means that we would like to apply an electronic signature to this document. So let's set up the electronic signature right now. Again, we go back to the report setup, and under the report setup, we go to the PDF security menu, where we can set up either to sign a document with a certificate or to encrypt them with the password. And today we will set up the signing part. So before we do that, let me just quickly show you here where you need to specify which certificates you will use. So actually you need to go to the electronic signature certificate list. And here I have quite two certificates already present. But I will show you also how we can add a new one. So if I click on the add button, and here I have two possibilities. So as I mentioned before at the presentation, we can store them to the database or even use them from the Azure Key Vault. And in this case, I will use the one from the Azure Key Vault and select one of the registered from the Key Vault storage. I won't go in more into the details because my colleague Micha will show you that on Thursday. So I will just now use the certificate and add it to the list. And now and now we can add the setting for this legal entity. So when we set the electronic signature configuration, we set it up for each legal entity separately. So here I must now specify the correct legal entity. I must specify which certificate I will use, so this one. I also want to apply the long-term validation signature. So that means that the signed document will be self-contained, and I can always check the certificate if the certificate was valid at the time of signature. We can also apply long-term validation to our outgoing documents. And by turning this option on, we will actually ensure that we can always check if the certificate was valid at the time of signature. Then we can also apply a visual appearance to the document. And by visual appearance, I mean, if I go to the setup now, we can actually specify where the signature should be positioned, signature appearance box should be positioned on the document. And if I select this one where we have the signature appearing on all the pages in the right upper corner. So we have here the positioning on the page. We have the rectangle size. We have where the offset begins of the signature box. And if I enlarge a little bit this part of the document, we can see the visual appearance appearing on a sample page to check how the settings are working here. There's quite a lot of other things that you can set up, like what kind of visual appearance of the signature you want, like the image below text, like this one on the screen, or if the image should be placed in the background of the text, or only I want to have the handwritten image or text only, and so on. But for our demo, I have also created this one, which actually puts the signature on the last page, as we did as we created this signature box here on our sales invoice. So let's select this one. Okay, and now let's select the sales invoice on the last page, and we will give it a reason for the signing. So I approve the invoice. We are doing this from Ljubljana, and the contact person is Klemen Novak. But for the fields such as reason, location, and contact, you can also use placeholders. And in this case, for example, so what are placeholders? Placeholders are actually some kind of variables which can be replaced in the runtime with an actual data from the data source. And in this case, let's use the standard placeholders, for example, the worker name and also the worker email. So let's copy them and put them here in our field. And this will give me the ability actually to have dynamic reasons, locations, and also contacts. So now let's save this and let's try again to print out our report. But in the meanwhile, let me just quickly go and set up also the emailing part. So now that we have set the electronic signature setup and applied it to the sales invoice, we still need to send it to our customer via email, for example. So if I just quickly show you here under the print management setup, under the customer invoice, and if I go to the print destinations, you will see our improved output management, our improved print destinations. And under the emailing part, you also have the possibility to specify an email body. And if I quickly show you, we have a rich text editor where you can nicely craft your outgoing email bodies. And that is also something that is missing in the standard solution. But I already have set up everything, so we can, after we check the invoice and if the signature was already applied, so let's check. Yes, we have it down here. We can now also try out to send this invoice via email. So let's do also that. So we'll now use the print management. And with a little luck, this report will be sent out to my mailbox. But before it's being sent out, it's also being brought up to the screen. This is because I have enabled a feature called preview before print. And it allows me to check if everything is okay with the document. It also allows me to download the email before I send it out to our customers. And I can open it in my Outlook and check everything. So we can now see that the body is nicely crafted, everything is okay. We have also our attachments here, like the report that we have just created, also additional terms and conditions. And if I click now on the report, we can also check if the signature is valid, and we see that it is. We can also open in Adobe Reader also the signature panel to check if the signature is trusted. So we see that it's trusted and obtained from the European Union trusted list. We see that it has the long-term validation enabled, and we can also check where the signature box is. So we have it down here. And if we click on it, we can also check the details about the certificate chain. So that in that case, who was the issuer, and so on. So we see that everything is okay. And now let's send it to our recipients. So if I now just quickly open my mailbox to see if we received the email, yes, we did. And here we have now the email that we have sent out to our customers. Let's now summarize what we have learned so far. We now know the basics of electronic signatures and why they are used. I have shown you how you can create a fully functional sales invoice in just 10 minutes and applied it to the 365 environment by only using configuration. We have seen how we can set up an electronic signature in the Docentric pipeline and how to apply it to your business documents. And finally, I have shown you how easy it is to send your legally compliant signed sales invoices to your customers via email using nicely crafted email bodies. Now it's time for the Q&A session. Don't forget to answer our quiz, and with a little luck, you might be the lucky winner for our great giveaways. And for those of you who are eager to know more about Docentric, you are welcome to contact us at our virtual booth and let's network. We will show you what it takes to be a reporting superhero. Don't forget to try out our free edition. You will be able to solve most of the missing distribution features in D365. So for example, emailing with email body and use email templates, integration to Azure and SharePoint, printer improvements, and many, many more. Thank you again for being good listeners, and thank you, DynamicsCon, for having us. We're proud to be here. And now let's start with the Q&A.
Oh, thank you, Clement, for a great session. That was an interesting topic and a very powerful tool.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, now it's time for a Q&A. We have a high expectations for the Q&A. So the ladies before us in the previous session had a great Q&A. So let's hope for the best. So
we have DynamicsCon t-shirts, so it's not a problem.
Great. Yeah. So let's start with the first one. And does this have a hook on commerce solution? So if a customer creates an order on the commerce website, the confirmation is sent to the customer on email. So.
Okay. So currently our solution is integrated only with D365 FO. In order to do that, we would need to create some kind of customization. But the main goal is that if the data comes back to the FNO from the commerce, then it also can be generated as a report there.
Okay, so let's start with another question about the certificates. So there was a lot about the certificates in the session. Where can you get a certificate for testing purposes?
Okay, you can generate the certificate either in Azure Key Vault. You can also use PowerShell scripts. But I will also share you my screen right now and show you also another cool tool that we also made, and it's free. So basically, if you go to our webpage, so I'm sharing right now my screen, and here on our webpage, you have under the support blogs, you have articles, and one of the articles is this one, free self-signed certificate generator. So here you can actually read what it does, how it works, and you can also download it. So if I can quickly just open this tool and show you how it looks like.
Good.
So you can see it's a nice, let's say, eye candy looking application where you can just specify the name, the certificate information. You can also click here on this button and open the dialog with certificate subject where you can enter all the data. And then you simply specify the validity, the size, the key size of your private key, and then you just specify the password and generate it and store it to the file system. So it's easy as that. And we also support exporting them directly to the Microsoft Certificate Store. So that's also one possibility to create those certificates. And those self-signed certificates are really good for especially testing and development purpose.
Good. Thanks for that. Thanks for an answer. So the next question is about the batch processing. So does it work when documents are generated in batches?
Yeah, of course. Of course, it's the same as you would generate it one by one. So Docentric also works in background, and most of our customers are also using it for mass mailing. So basically, there's also quite a lot of scenarios where you can integrate also with SendGrid, for example, if you're sending out emails or something like that.
Okay. Then it's a question about document routing agent and its limits and limitation. So do we have a roadmap how to overcome these limitations, or do we already have a solution for that?
So for checks, for example, which are still quite commonly used in the USA, we have improved the printing by not sending the PDFs to the DRR, to the document routing agent, as the standard solution works. So we actually send EMF files, and in that case, it's let's say it's more efficient, and it also is less error prone. So actually, we already improved that part. But yeah, we also have it on midterm plans to create also our own document routing agent and to improve the functionality of the existing one.
Okay. We have seen how the document can be signed. Can it also be encrypted so that only a person that knows a password can open it?
Yeah, of course. I can quickly show you on my screen again. So if I go now to the F&O, and if I go to the report setup, so let's say to the sales invoice, and here under the settings, we have the PDF security. So the same option, the same menu item, which I used during the presentation for setting up the signature part. And down here, we have actually the part of encrypt with password. And again, we specify per legal entity when we want to encrypt the outgoing document, so on which print destination, and we give it a password. And this password can be a static one, or we can again leverage our placeholder functionality to define a dynamic password. So for that, this means that you can, let's say, read a password that was agreed with a vendor, with the customer, or even with an employee, for example, the employee social security number or something like that.
Okay. So you mentioned a free version that's free for the whole community, and a full version that's payable. So where can we see what are the features that are in a free and what are the features that are in the full version?
Okay, so again, if we go on our webpage, and on our webpage under the product features, feature list, you will see all the features that Docentric has And you will also see the ones that are on our roadmap. So basically here you will see the features that are already placed on the short-term, mid-term, and also long-term roadmap. So the ones with this sign. If you look in the Docentric column, the ones that are colored out in green are part of the free edition. And here you will also see the comparison between the Docentric and the standard SSRS solution, and also comparison to the electronic reporting business documents. So if you expand this list, you will also get quite a lot of explanations on all the features. We have also quite a lot of links to how-to manuals, to our really rich blog articles, so you can really read in depth what that feature is doing.
Okay, let's go back to electronic signatures. So what type of reports can be electronically signed with Docentric?
Okay, so with as I mentioned during my session, we can actually digitally sign Docentric designs. We can sign SSRS built-in designs, and we can also sign electronic reporting designs or any other actually PDF document by using our API. So we have created out-of-the-box functionality that works with our reports and SSRS reports, but for all other PDFs, you can always use via customizations our APIs.
Okay, good. So I think it's time that you also show a little bit about our Wheel of Fun giveaways. So there is a survey link at the in the beginning of this chat thread, and maybe you can just shortly show what it is that all the audience knows. And so you are all in the audience, all the attendees are invited to fill out this survey and then to apply for our giveaways.
Yes, so I put on my screen again what we're giving away. So the survey link is available in the chat window. We are also you can also fill the survey from our virtual booth. So I'm also inviting you all to our virtual booth. And we're giving away, as I mentioned during the session, one Nintendo Switch, one Nintendo Switch Lite, and 2 Docentric full edition subscriptions for 6 months. So basically, I think you won't be disappointed, especially those 2 lucky winners who will get our subscriptions. The lucky winners will actually be announced on the March 25th. So that means next Thursday. It's also great that you subscribe to our social media. So that means LinkedIn, Twitter, and also maybe subscribe to our blogs, where we will also publish who were the lucky winners.
Okay.
So are there any other questions?
Yeah, we have time for 1 or 2 questions.
Okay.
Okay, good. Seems like we answered all the questions. So yeah, then I will just give the final word to Klemen.
Yeah. So thanks again, everybody. It was really a rush being here again on Dynamics Con. I was really lucky that my roomie Micha was together with me on the Q&A session. And I hope that you liked what you saw, and I also invite you to our virtual booth again to network with us, where our consultants and also myself and other colleagues from sales will be there to help you with all the other questions you will have. And we can always discuss about possible demos to give you the whole overview of our product. Because in this short session, we actually gave you just, let's say, a sneak peek. Good. So thanks again, everyone. Thanks, Micha, for being with me. and hope to see us at the next Dynamics Con.